everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Carly, back with another Monday review. I'm reviewing a really exciting launch. It's the Cosmetics Venetian Rose eyeshadow palette, and I'm so excited to review this, so let's get into it. Okay, so they did send this to us, and I'm so grateful because I love it, spoiler alert. But it is $40 if you buy it from their website, and Cosmetics you can only purchase on mcosmetics.com. But I do think it's worth it, and I will get into that. First of all, it's kind of a running joke on our channel that I have decluttered all my eyeshadow palettes. I have some singles left, but when we went to go, what were we doing? I don't know, we were looking through our makeup, and the only eyeshadow palettes I still had in my collection were the Cosmetics ones, all three, because I love them. It's a really beautiful formula, the shimmers and the mattes, and all the color stories are really beautiful. So if you're not familiar, there is the Faded Clementine palette, which is more of those, well, there's orange and purple tones in that one. It's really unique. And then the original one is Magic Hour, which those are more of light pink peachy tones, which is probably my least favorite because I don't really gravitate towards that. And then Venetian Rose is so beautiful. They describe it as an enchanting range of rosy pinks and neutrals with matte to shimmery finishes, which I 100% agree. Here it is. These colors and this color story is just one of my favorites I've probably ever seen in a palette. I think it's so beautiful, and we can get into all the colors. Okay, so there's a little guide on the back to tell you which shade is which. So this top shade that looks really high metallic, it kind of looks like a taupe. It says it is called Honeymoon, and it is a neutral shimmering champagne. I guess, yeah, I would agree with that. It's definitely more of a cool toned or neutral champagne, which I love. The whole palette, like they said, is pretty neutral. Again, if you watch our channel, you know that I love neutral makeup across the board. Neutral foundation, concealer, blush, bronzer, eyeshadow, and it's so hard to find, so I love that these are more neutral. Then going this way, oh no, now I'm losing track. This way. So Always, this one right here, this one, is a soft neutral brown. This is my favorite shade in the palette. I love it so much. It is my perfect light brown shade. You'll see it in use. Then we have this one right here, which is Charm. Wait, this has to be Charm. Yes. And it says a warm shimmering satin rose. This one, oh wait, is Charm this way? No, that has to be Charm. This one I wouldn't call satin. I would call this a very high metallic. I have it all over my lids right now. I'll show you in the demo how I use it. But it is stunning. It actually reminds me of the Tom Ford Golden, or what is it called? Yeah, Golden Peach, that duo I love so much. That base color that has all those glitter reflex in it, that has multi-dimensional color in it, but the base is this really beautiful deeper rose. I love this shade. It is so unique. I don't think I've really seen a powder eyeshadow like this with so much multi-dimensional glimmer and shimmer and just that high metallic finish. I love it. Then the bottom one is the Venetian Rose shade. So the palette's Venetian Rose, but there's also a Venetian Rose, and it is a matte warm vintage rose. I also love this one. I actually don't think it's that warm. I feel like it's pretty neutral again. Then we have, what is this one? Embrace, a warm toasted brown. I do agree with that. I do think this one is warm. Also a really lovely brown though, a perfect warm. It's more of a yellowy warm instead of a red or orange. So really beautiful and complementary to the rest of the more neutral tones. And then this one right here, I'm probably not doing a good job showing these, but I can do some inserts. And then the top left is, what is this one? Cherish, which is a warm iridescent pink, and this one is truly iridescent. It has a blue shift to it, so again, super unique. Okay, and then I wanted to really demo this close up because I feel like these are such beautiful colors and finishes that you really need to see it in action to appreciate how stunning it is. So first up, I put, what is this shade that I said was my favorite? Always, which is the neutral brown, all over my lid just with a sort of semi-fluffy shader brush. And I felt like this shade in particular is so great because it does start pretty sheer, but you can build it up. So as you can see, I put one layer on and I felt like it wasn't enough base color for going in with the rest of the shades on top. So I kept adding more and more, and I hope you can see in the footage that it blends out so seamlessly. Like, I am not really good at eyeshadow. I don't do eyeshadow all that often. I just told you I only have 3 palettes in my collection. So I'm not really a pro at eyeshadow application, but I feel like these really blend themselves, especially the matte shades. They are so soft and so buttery and not so pigmented, like not like a pressed pigment where you put it on your eye and you're like, oh my god, what am I gonna do now? Like, these are like a true matte eyeshadow, and they just blend themselves. Okay, and then you can see that I took the deeper brown shade, the Embrace color, and I just put that on a little pencil brush. It's like a pretty fluffy brush, and smudged it on my lower lash line. And I felt comfortable doing this because, again, these aren't like a pressed pigment, so even though they have a decent level of pigment, it really isn't too much for like your lower lash line or too much to make your eyes look heavy. So I just really wanted to add a little definition under my eyes, and I felt like this was the perfect color to put there. Again, it blended out so seamlessly. I felt like I barely had to do any work, and it ended up looking really pretty. I have green eyes, so I felt like, well, I feel like all these tones really complement my eyes, but I love that brown on the lower lash line. Okay, and then my dream perfect shade, the Charm shade, I used my finger to put that all over my eyes, and I was going to use like a primer before because, like I said, there's a ton, I'm looking at my eyes right now, there's a ton of multi-dimensional like shimmers in here. And I wanted to make sure it like lasted and looked really vibrant, but I really wanted to test these for you guys, so I didn't want to use sort of any like cheater products. So I just used my finger to apply, and if you don't like applying with your finger, I think that these would work really well with a brush, but I personally like always apply these more like metallic shades with my finger. I feel like no matter, like if it's a good quality eyeshadow still, like I just prefer the look with a finger. So that's what I did, and I put it all over the lid. It was super easy to apply. You'll see like upon impact, it is so metallic and stunning. And it just, it has so much dimension. Like, I can't stress enough, this shade in particular has so much dimension. It just looks like crazy on my eyes, like crazy in a good way. And then I just use a fluffy brush to blend out the edges because this feels like almost like, it's definitely not a cream shadow, but it definitely feels, you know, like slightly more emollient than the matte shades. It was a little bit harder to blend out, but definitely still pretty easy. I mean, like really not that hard. I just windshield wiper motions, kept blending the edges, made sure it looked good. I added a little bit more with my finger and loved how it looked. This shade is so pretty. And then I really wanted to use the more iridescent shade, which is, which one did I say the one was? That one is Embrace. No, that one is Cherish. So I first applied that with a finger as well, but then I wanted to show you guys what it looked like with a brush. So then I just used like a flat brush and applied that shade over my other eye with the brush. Both methods worked really great. This one I would say is more of like a topper. Like, sure, you can use it all over your lid and it looks really pretty, but it's definitely more sheer and not as like full opacity as the other shimmer shades in the palette. So I love how this one looked over, oh my god, I keep forgetting that one, Charm. So I loved how Cherish looked over Charm. I felt like it did add that like iridescent blue shift, but it didn't change the color too much. Like, it just sort of like complemented it and made it look even more like dimensional, and that's what a good palette should do. I think the shades should complement each other. So I love how that looked, and like I said, it did apply nicely with a brush and a finger. Then because I'm trying to use all the shades in this palette, I used Venetian Rose, which is the matte rose shade, in my crease, and you'll see in the clip, but I used like a pretty fluffy brush because, like I said, all the matte shades are so easy to blend, but I didn't realize that this one is actually pretty pigmented because it is one of those like deeper shades. So I felt like it was a little too pigmented for the brush I used, so I just tried to go in and make sure I blended it with a smaller brush, but super easy to blend again, even with that little mistake. I feel like it blended out, and it didn't blend out. You know how there's some matte eyeshadows that when they're pigmented, you blend them out and they kind of like blend out into nothing, or all the colors start to look the same. I felt like when I blended this one out, you could tell that it added definition in my crease, and it wasn't just like, oh, it's blending into the brown, it's blending into the shimmering pink. Like, it held its own, but at the same time blended out so seamlessly. Okay, and then I wanted to use the brown again, which I will say this brown, the Always shade, it definitely has a slight rosy undertone, which again complements the rest of the palette. But I use that on my lower lash line to sort of like smudge out the deeper brown a little bit more. Again, blended like a dream. There were no issues there. It looked really pretty. Like how those two colors work together on the lower lash line. Okay, so the only shade that I didn't use in this palette is, I keep forgetting these ones. Well, this one's easy. It's Honeymoon, and the only reason I'll swatch it for you right now that I didn't use this is because I think the color story is really cohesive, and I think this shade is stunning, but it is like pretty icy, and I just felt like it would look so stark with the other shades. If you like an inner corner highlight, I don't ever do that. This would be like a beautiful inner corner highlight. It is so bright that I just felt like on me it would look, I don't know, it's just not my taste. It's not my taste to add like bright eyeshadows anywhere. But it is really stunning. I actually think this will be a really pretty face highlighter. I should try that because it is a really beautiful, beautiful shade. Not my taste, so I didn't add it, but I know it performs well because I can tell because the rest of them perform well. And I've been wearing this now for like 5 hours, and I have maybe like the slightest creasing, but I talked about this recently on our channel. Every single powder eyeshadow now creases on me. I've been using the NYX glitter glue to like try to help with that, but I think it's just with age. Like I have a lot of folds in my eyes, and so I just haven't even really been wearing powder because of the creasing. So this, without any help from any sort of primer, actually looks like so good, like way better than other powdered eyeshadows that I've tried recently. And I honestly can't stop looking at my eyes. I feel like I love this color story so much. And I think the thing I love so much about it is because they're like rosy brown tones, but I find that so many rosy palettes always end up leaning warm. And this one is like neutral, almost borderline cool. Like I don't really have any eyeshadows, like especially with that iridescent pink on top that actually shifts blue. I don't really have any pink, like rosy eyeshadows or palettes that have sort of like that cool undertone. And I feel like it's so flattering and so unique that, I don't know, I highly recommend. I don't have anything like this collection of colors. So I'm so excited about this. I knew I was gonna love it just from the photos. I was like, oh gosh, that is so stunning. So I'm really excited that they sent this to us. Thank you again. I just think it's so pretty. And yes, $40, like it can seem like a lot for only 6 shades, but you do get a decent amount of product in here. It is 1.5 grams each, and like I'm telling you, this quality, it's made in Italy, and the quality is just really incredible, like on par with a lot of luxury shadows I've tried. So even though, you know, it's tiny and you're not getting a ton of shades, I think it's curated so well. And this one especially, like I said, I really like Faded Clementine too. Magic Hour isn't really like my favorite, but this one especially is, I think, so worth the money. It is such a beautiful color story, and I think it would look good on a lot of different skin tones and undertones, so I love this. It is so good.